Hello and welcome to this short video about resizing your images for club competitions and display. Most clubs use a standard size for displaying projected images, and we do this because it makes it fair for everyone to have the images projected at the same sort of quality and size, and it also makes it easier for the projector to handle as well. So the standard size that we use and most clubs use is, imagine it as a window, if you like, that's 1600 pixels wide and 1200 pixels high. And your picture has to be able to fit within that 1600 by 1200 window. Now, it's okay if your format fits that exactly, but very often it's quite tricky to work out what your new dimensions should be. So the simple way is to use a tool called Image Processor that's in every copy of Adobe Photoshop. It's also in Elements as well. And it's a really neat tool that most people don't use, but is extremely useful, particularly for processing numbers of images. But you can use it on a single one, or you can use it to process a whole folder of images with just a couple of clicks. So, no more waffle from me. Let's get in and do an example. So I'll start by opening a file. So I've got a couple of test files here that I'm going to use. So this is one of my Iceland pictures, and the image size on this one is quite large. I think if I go up here to image and image size, it will tell me what it is. That's in inches. You can change it to pixels just there. So it's 4000 by 2 and a bit thousand. So that's way too big for what we want. So we want to make that fit within a 1600 by 1200 window. Now you can see this is not actually the right proportions, but if we go to the image processor, so we go to File and then Scripts and then Image Processor, we get this window come up. Now this looks complicated at first, but it's actually very simple, and once you've set this up, if you don't change the settings, it will come up with all the settings stored every time you use it. So it's very easy to use. So the 4 sections are marked down here. The first section is where you tell it what images you want it to process. So in our example here, I'm just going to say the open image, which is the file I've already opened. And then the next one is, where do you want the result put? And I normally save it in the same location, because what it does, it actually creates a new folder in that location called JPEG, and it puts all the JPEGs in there. So we'll click Save in the same location. Now, the bulk of the work is done in this next section, which is the larger section. And you can see there's various options. You can save as a JPEG, a PSD, as a TIFF. Now for competition and general display, we use save as a JPEG. The quality has a scale from 1 to 12, I beg your pardon. So we want the best quality, so we choose 12. And below it there, we convert the color profile to sRGB. This is the best color profile to use for projected images. Is also the best profile to use for any images you're going to put on the web, because the common profile or color space used on the web is called sRGB. So make sure you tick that box, and then over here you tick the box Resize to fit. So what it's going to do now, it's going to resize your image to fit within these limits. Okay, it's not going to make it this size, it's just going to make sure it fits within those limits. So the width is 1600 pixels and the height is 1200 pixels. So we just set that there. Now we don't need to set anything else, because there's just some advanced options down here. So we've actually done it. So all we need to do now to resize our picture is just click Run. And that's it. It's done. So if I now open a folder, now this is where the files are stored, and you see there's a new folder been created called JPEG. And if I open that, we'll find that image is there. And if we look down here, we'll see it's been resized to 1600 by 900, which is fine because the limits are 1600 wide by 1200 tall. So it's resized our image and done it in a flash. If I double click on it, you can see that it's done a good job of resizing it, and the size is confirmed at the top up here, 1600 by 900. So that's ideal. So it's done the job for us. So that's dealing with a single image. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to delete that folder, and I'm also going to go back and close the open file, and I'm going to show you how to do a folder now. So it's the same process. You go up to File, Scripts, Image Processor, and now we're going to go Select Folder. So if we click on there, a window will come up and we can select which folder we want to take the pictures from, which I've done there, and you click OK. There are pictures in it, but it doesn't show it at that point. And we want them to save them in the same location because it will just create a directory where it can save them. All the settings we did before are already there. So it's quality of 12, 1600 by 1200 pixels, convert to sRGB. So if we now click Run, it will do both of the pictures in that folder. And there we go. It's done it. So if I now go back to that folder, we see we've got the subfolder of JPEG been created, and if you look in there, there's two images. So if we look at the size of this one, which is a square image, so in order to fit in that 1600 wide by 1200 tall, you'll see it's made it 1285 wide and 1200 tall, so it fits within the window. And the same with this one, 1600 wide by 900 tall. So it just automatically makes sure that your image fits in that window. And you'll see that it does a superb job. There's no loss of quality or anything when doing this. So it's a great tool to use. One thing I will show you for the experts amongst you, if you use any actions to finish off your image, so some people like to put a border around their image, and might do a bit of vignetting. If you've got that recorded as a Photoshop action, you can actually apply that to the image at this stage, because if you go down to the bottom here, you can choose your action and apply it automatically after it's been resized. So that's a really powerful tool. So you could record an action in Photoshop to do all the finishing touches on your pictures. It might be to put a watermark on it, it could be to put a border on it, and then when the image processor resizes the image, it will do all those finishing touches for you just in a single click, and it does it in a flash. So it's a brilliant tool, and I hope you find that useful. So thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.